happening overnight that they sort of had to push everything back because of that rollout that was delayed. In this case, we don't have that delay, so we are trying to figure out why we are still at T-minus 15 minutes here.
Has the Bezos team told you anything at all?
No, they actually told us, George, that they don't know why, and they're trying to go back and speak with Mission Control to find out exactly why. But we have our producer, Gina Sansari, also reaching out to the folks there to try to find out. But, oh, there we go right now, George. It looks like we are now at T-minus 14:44, so the clock is ticking once again.
Yeah, the clock is ticking again. Let's bring in Katie Coleman again. Of course, you're a veteran of these missions. Not all that unexpected to have a bit of a delay?
It's definitely not, and basically you go when the time is right. I think it's harder on almost everyone else than it is on the crew because they know that, you know, even if it's not today for some reason, they will be going when everything is set and right. And I like a lot of the way that I hear the Blue Origin team talk about making sure that they don't have go fever.
How different is it for this Blue Origin team? How different is it for them that they're really just passengers? All of you, when you've gone up on different missions, you had a job to do.
And while our astronauts and our teams are going through...
Well, they've got, I mean, I think they have a job to do, too. And actually, this word tourism always kind of bothers me a little bit because it implies that you're just going to see something from a distance when actually, when you're up there and you become weightless and you see that view out the window, it's a visceral thing. It's something that you really feel inside you. And everyone's going to feel it differently. They're going to see it differently. And that's really the whole point, is bringing lots of different viewpoints up to space. But it's definitely not something that you just kind of like look at and feel separate from.
And Dr. Olsay, let me ask you this, Dr. Hakeem Olsay, because we have been talking about a lot about the billionaires. We had Richard Branson, and now we have Jeff Bezos. Can you help people understand the importance? Why should the average person be excited about today?
That's a very good question, because it does look like it's very far from accessible to the average person today. But if you think about the type of trips that were being taken by so-called space tourists from 1998 up into the 2000s, they were paying something like $20 million a ticket. And now for these missions, it's come down by about a factor of 10. And so what's happening here is that this development that's being done by these three companies, right? We have to include the orbital company too, SpaceX, is they've brought down the price by creating reusable vehicles. And the other thing is they're making it more accessible, not necessarily today, but for the future. They're building an infrastructure. And the more that infrastructure is used, then the more it can be taken advantage of, kind of like the internet, right? You create a new economy. So what is that new economy? One of the most promising is the mining of materials from, say, the moon or from asteroids. And there's one asteroid out there that's valued at not trillions of dollars, but quadrillions to quintillions of dollars if we can actually mine it. So what we're looking at is being done by billionaires. But if you look at the beginning of automobiles, if you look at the beginning of aircraft, then quite often you see this kind of activity in the very beginning, just because they are the ones who have access. But eventually now, we come to a point where everyone, for the most part, can take an airline flight. So perhaps in the future, and we're talking perhaps decades or not, everyone can take a space flight.
Let's talk about the immediate future, Dr. Ansari. Tell us a little bit about what you expect in the immediate aftermath of this flight.
Well, assuming everything goes right, then we've entered into a new era, right? And we now have a space race between two suborbital corporations that are doing things differently from each other. So that means that things are going to shake out. We're going to learn a lot about the various technologies. But, you know, the thing to me, as an astrophysicist and as a nerd, the idea of just going into space, as you don't have to be an astronaut and go through the astronaut program, and getting that view of the dark black sky, space, what the universe really is, that is just mind-blowing to me. And then to look down on Earth, personally, I've been to 40 countries at this point in my life, and I didn't really get a perspective on America until I left America, and then I had perspective. So imagine the perspective one gains when they leave the Earth and look back down on it.
We got so
You want to go to Anna, Dr. Anna Sari and let her answer the same question?
Yeah.
And the perspective from our NASA astronauts, we just
I think very significant if you just look at what has happened in a matter of few weeks. So many people, civilians, have now flown to space. And I think that's the significance that shows possible for others. I was particularly very excited to see Wally be able to realize her dream. This is what happened. And it just shows to the young people out there that has been created, they can be part of it, and they can actually learn without being a professional.
We apologize. We have some trouble with your sound, but we do want to go back to Gio Benitez there at the launch site. We are closing in.
We are closing in, George, and they just finished the go poll. This is the poll that they take inside Mission Control, where they basically have everybody say go or no go, and we are a go for launch. That is very critical at T-minus 10 minutes. We're now looking at T-minus 9 minutes. But a reminder, when you're talking about a launch, everything is taken into account in every single second. So they can decide a second before this launch to scrap it. And so this is something we're going to be watching, but it is a very good sign right now that go poll right now is a go for launch.
So what are Jeff Bezos and his fellow crew members doing right now, as best you can tell?
You know, when I talk to astronauts about this, NASA astronauts, they always say that in this moment, this is what they've been training for, and they're just sort of relaxed and waiting for it to happen. They believe, they always tell me, and I find this very shocking, but they always say that it is a very calm, relaxed moment. I'm not sure I would be as relaxed, but certainly these NASA astronauts are. He has been training now for a while. He has been working on this for 21 years, George. This is a company he founded in 2000, and he started it with this vision of human space flight, and now he is making that dream come true. So I'm imagining that a lot like those NASA astronauts preparing all that time for this, he's probably feeling a lot like that.
All right, Gio, thank you. Well, let's talk to a former astronaut. We have one, Katie Coleman. So can you give us a sense, this close to liftoff, what is going on?
I think you look at the clock. You've got a clock in front of you, and you realize that hopefully nothing's going to stop that clock. And at the same time, it's moving a little bit too fast because you're just not quite ready, even though you feel like you've been ready all your life. And waiting for those engines to light, in this case, the engine to light, it is the most unbelievable feeling when that happens. And it becomes clear in this way that it is just so hard to get people off this planet. It takes immense force, complicated engineering, and when it really happens, and you're part of it, it's something to be inside that rocket, and at the same time, I think it's harder to watch than it is to be inside the rocket.
And tell us, what's the difference between what people saw with Richard Branson not too long ago, his flight into space, and what we're going to see today? The difference between the two flights.
But each one of those people has contributed.
Well, there's the vehicles themselves. I mean, theirs is an airplane, a mothership that is then going to drop a spaceship that's got a rocket motor on it. After it drops, the rocket motor lights, and that's when they begin their climb to space. And one of the differences is that they actually have to climb up, in the mothership, and it's about a 40-minute flight before they get dropped and they start their launch, whereas it's much quicker here. And I think that all of these seconds of laying on your back on the pad, getting to be settled mentally in your seat are actually really valuable to them. I think the Virgin Galactic folks have a little while to think about it without people around them. They're just strapped in their seats on their way about 40 minutes before that plane drops and the rocket motor lights and they're a rocket going to space.
You talk about getting settled mentally. Were you afraid at all?
Beautiful story about the Bezos brothers that are going up.
You make up your mind about wanting to be on the top of that launch pad long before you're ever sitting there. And it's something that you do with your family, and you really you trust the people. I trust the people, and I'm sure that they do too. You trust people to have done their best. And there's also this spirit of exploration that makes it all worthwhile.
Been thinking about going
And Katie, as we watch the countdown clock here, T-minus 5 minutes, 45 seconds now, you mentioned how difficult it is to get people to space, just the effort that it takes, that the power that it takes, but sometimes it also takes decades. And I know that so much focus is on Jeff Bezos. Yes, he's the richest man in the world that he's about to leave. He's also the guy with the style, with the hat. It's his rocket, it's his company. But this is Wally Funk's day in a lot of ways. She has waited some 60 years to get to this moment when she was told she was good enough, but she still couldn't go back during the Mercury 13. But this is a woman who's been a pioneer for a long time. She was the first female investigator of the NTSB. She was the first FAA inspector that was a woman. She was the first civilian flight instructor at Fort Sill. And to be sitting, what is this like for you now to think about her finally getting this opportunity some 60 years late, we could argue?
And just think about that.
Well, I'll put it this way. When Jeff invited her to fly on this flight, I cried. I mean, and it's especially a statement from someone, you know, Jeff Bezos. I mean, I don't know him well. And at the same time, I doubt that he's been denied something that he wants to do in his life based on his sex or his gender, or the color of his skin. And for someone who doesn't know what it feels like to be one of those people, to then say, Wally, I would like you to come with us. It says, you matter. What you did matters. And you matter for the future. And so Wally is flying with so many people on board, not just aviation people like me, but so many people who have persisted in a dream and knew they could be part of a big solution and not been able to. They know that persistence is going to get them there and that we all have a role to play.
Katie, did you feel any barriers when you were joining this program?
The vehicle is going through, and that we're going to see, especially on our screen.
I don't like to think of them as barriers, but, you know, this definitely, you know, as a person who looks and sounds and probably feels different than most of the people around them, you know, you're very visible, and I at least would feel like, you know, when I excel for all of us, and when I don't excel, people are going, I don't know about that. And, you know, part of the reason why this is so important that Wally's on this flight is that I'd like to say that it's, you know, only 60 years ago that, I mean, it seems ludicrous that people would think, I don't know, could a woman do that as well as a man? I don't think so. I mean, I've looked at the research. You know, there's just the things that they thought would get in the way if women were menstruating, that they'd have to retest them all over again because they must be, you know, different people when that happens. I mean, these things actually still happen today around the world, that women are denied the right to do the work that they could be doing really, really well for our planet. So that's why her place is so important today.
It is very important, and we just think about it.
Looking at the clock.
We are looking at the clock. We are, Katie, and so let's go back there on the ground. Gio, it's getting very close. We're now under 3 minutes until liftoff. Gio.
Not only a powerful...
Robin, you know, we heard Katie there talk about, you know, feeling that it's harder on your nerves to sort of watch this than it is to be inside that capsule. And every time I'm at a launch and I see the clock going at T-minus 2 minutes like we are right now, that's how you feel. You feel very excited. You feel nervous. Your heart is sort of racing to watch this happen. But it's also an emotional moment because when you're watching this launch, you think about all of the incredible engineers and the incredible people that it took to build something like this, to literally lift human beings off of this planet. It's quite an achievement, quite a human achievement, and there we are. We are seeing these moments right here. Let's stop and listen.
Right, under 2 minutes now. Let's listen in on the Blue Origin
We are
live stream.
about to go to space, everybody.
We are in auto sequence. When that engine gimbal check occurs and that engine swings, they should actually be able to feel it in the cabin because it'll sway the stack back and forth.
There go the aft fin checks. There you see the engine gimbal check just peeking out at the base of the rocket.
See, we're getting close there. Look at the clock there
All
up on the right
here we
of your
go,
screen.
everybody.
40 seconds to
Thousands
go.
of people contributed years to this historic moment. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Blue Origin's first human flight. Godspeed, first crew of New Shepard. Let's light this candle.
T-minus 16, guidance internal. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, command and start. 2, 1.
And New Shepard has cleared the tower on our way to space with our first human crew. Go, Jeff, go, Mark, go, Molly, go, Oliver. You are going to space.
And there you see it right there. Blue Origin has begun its liftoff into space. Katie, as we're all watching this rocket go up with such force, give us a sense of what those passengers are feeling right this moment.
They are realizing just what I said, that it is so hard to leave the planet, and they are going. And you realize that you are going somewhere, and you are just not going to stop until that engine cuts out, and then you'll be in space. They're getting, the G's are starting to build up. Max Q. It's the highest dynamic pressure of the flight.
So what does Max Q feel like?
30,000 feet, Mach 1.
It's not a sudden thing for us. It's just that you realize that it's the most stress on the vehicle itself, and it's a nice thing to get done with, and that is the most stress on the parts of the vehicle. So now you know your vehicle is doing fine.
To see the glow.
And what are they feeling inside their bodies at this moment?
Rocket just under our shoulders, and to know that we've got a crew that is going to space.
I think I heard you ask about what it's like. They're actually feeling sort of pressed into their seat, as if I tell people it's like having a gorilla sit on your chest, but sort of like gradually, more and more. It's a little hard to breathe, but at the same time, you know that you can. You also know it's not going to last that long. They're coming up on 2 minutes, coming up on Mach 2.
And then they're eventually going to hit Mach
Such a great
3
view.
and weightlessness. Everything going perfectly so far, correct?
As far as I can tell.
All right, coming up here on MECO, main engine cutoff. That will be followed shortly by separation. And at that point, after separation, we're going to let the astronauts unbuckle and take in the freedoms of zero G. There is MECO, main engine cutoff. A beautiful shot down the New Shepard rocket. Look at that view.
So this means they are weightless.
Unreal.
Coming up.
So once they hit
Awaiting
zero
separation
Gs,
here.
As soon as they got that separation, there was zero G there.
And here we are. You can start to see. Stand by. You're going to see the separation of the capsule from the booster itself.
and Katie, once the booster separates, what's going to happen?
That's when they are. I'm not sure if you could hear them.
I think that sounds like, yeah, it does sound like the crew inside right now, huh?
It's awesome.
That was definitely
And
a
there
woohoo
we
from
go.
Wally.
Our astronauts have passed the Kármán line at about 328,000 feet, continuing their ascent. You see the two vehicles there. When the speed hits zero, you know that they've hit apogee, their maximum altitude, and you hear they're having quite an experience.
Okay, I'm gonna start back.
That is a high, Katie, isn't it?
Oh, you can hear it in their voices. There's nothing like it. The floating, the flying, you're flying inside the capsule, and the view of the Earth. That combination. And those windows are as big as you are.
And I imagine that no matter how many times you practiced, it still feels different when it's real.
1 minute warning.
We call this civilians in space. It's people in space, and when it's real, there's just nothing like that feeling, and it makes you realize that there's a whole big world out there in that universe, and just waiting for us to explore. You can see the separation. You see those two ships there. So the booster's on the bottom there. Well, actually, the booster's probably on the top. Depends on the camera angles, but the brighter one is usually the booster.
Okay, get in. Gotta get in. Roll.
Oh, Dad, look at this. It's dark up here.
Oh, wow.
2,000 miles an hour.
Everybody in?
First step, status check. Astronaut Oliver.
Oh, wow. Oliver, status check. Oliver. Blue Patrol, Oliver, status perfect. Easy.
Copy, astronaut Wally.
Wally. Blue Patrol, Wally is easy.
Copy, astronaut Demo.
Astronaut demo, reply.
Copy, astronaut Bezos. Copy.
It sounded like Jeff Bezos saying happy, happy, happy. Right there, almost 7 minutes into their flight into space.
And Katie, tell people what they're seeing on the right of the screen, what is about to make landfall again.
Our booster is about to return to its landing pad.
So they're going faster and faster and faster. Now they're starting to slow down in the that's actually, we're looking at the booster there. So two things are happening. The booster actually lands before they do, and you see it coming in for a landing, slowing down. It's going to land at about 5 miles per hour, usually right on that launch pad. So that's the booster landing that we're seeing right now.
So it can
and
be
they
reused
are
again.
about 2 miles away.
Booster touchdown, welcome back, New Shepard.
Wow.
A beautiful rocket that provided a beautiful flight to space.
First step, your booster has landed.
Bullseye for the booster right there on the launch pad.
Blue Control Bezos, that's great to hear about the booster.
They were happy to hear about the booster. To be able to hear them, they're so calm. Excited, but yet so
You
calm.
have a very happy crew up here, I want you to know.
And now they're just floating. You see it right there. You see the Blue Origin capsule.
I see blue. I see the big barn.
Stand by drogues. Stand by drogues.
It's red.
Stand by main. Stand by main.
Oh, so far, a nominal flight. Here comes the crew capsule back from space. The drogues deployed. Here are the mains out, reefing and coming to full inflation. Our rocket went over Mach 3, and now they're coming floating back down at just about 15 or 16 miles an hour, about to join us home. Back here in West Texas after having gone
So
over
Robin and
the
George, you
carbon
see
line,
those
the
parachutes
internationally
now. Those are
recognized line of
slowing it
space.
down to 16 miles per hour.
world's
Eventually,
newest
before it
astronauts.
hits that desert,
Carrie,
it's
how
going
you
to slow
holding up,
down
friend?
to just 1 mile per hour. So it is a slow and gentle descent.
Gio, it seemed to go about as well as it possibly could have gone.
Just got about a minute and a half.
You know what? We had 15 successful tests before this, George, consecutive tests. Now we can count a 16th, it seems, because this one was the first one with humans on board, and it looks to be going very, very well.
Multiple sensors, just 6 feet above the ground. That cushion of air will puff, and they will have a soft touchdown, almost like just sitting in a chair. But I'm sure their adrenaline is pumping.
What a gentle float.
And George, if you can see the capsule there, it's looking a little bit toasty.
And touchdown.
There we
Welcome back, New Shepard's first
There we go.
human crew. What
New
a
Shepard.
flight.
First step. Congratulations to all of you.
Welcome back to Earth, 35 seconds
what
ahead of
a
schedule.
But I have a feeling a lot of people are exhaling right now. There's a lot to be thankful for, a lot that they learned. They made it look easy, but we know it was anything but.
Very heavy cap column here as well. Let's do a status check.
Robin, I will
Astronaut
tell you,
Oliver.
from being here on the ground, you hold your breath from the beginning all the way to the end, the sonic boom when the rocket comes back, to watching the capsule float down to the ground and land. I don't think there's anyone here who is not overwhelmed by the moment. I don't think I have been at a loss for words for a long time in my life, and this definitely one of those moments that leaves you for a loss for words. So this was absolutely amazing and astonishing accomplishment, and just goes to show how far we can go when we really push ourselves. And you know, it was great to hear them up there in the capsule having their fun, hooting, hollering, and really taking in the moment, because here, just watching them was a moment within itself.
Did you feel it? I know on Good Morning America, Gio was talking about how you have, you know, he was even saying your organs would be rumbling, being that close to liftoff.
You feel it. You absolutely feel it. It gets into your chest, into your bones. The ground shakes. It's a little delay. You see the rocket go up, and you're so far away that then you hear the sound. You feel it. You see the smoke from the engines when they start them up, and it thrusts to space, and you just can't help but be in awe of watching this. This is just magnificent. One of the greatest things I've ever seen in my time here on this planet. And but I'm so happy that this flight went as smoothly and as perfectly as it did, and I'm so excited to talk to them and hear what they have to say about their experiences as well.
We cannot wait for that. Let's give everybody another look at liftoff.
And New Shepard has cleared the tower on our way to space with our first human crew. Go, Jeff. Go, Mark. Go, Wally. Go, Oliver. You are going to space.
Katie, we're going to hear, we hope, from all the crew members pretty soon about what the experience was like, what it felt like. Everybody has said, Jeff Bezos was saying this earlier in the interviews leading up to this flight, that everybody who's gone to space talks about how it changed them. How did it change you?
That was when the stresses on the vehicle are at their maximum.
It's hard to ever be the same, I think, by, you know, that view looking down at the planet, and you realize that basically everyone except the people with you in that spacecraft, everyone, every Earthling is down there on that planet, and that we're all from the same place, and you don't see those borders, and just that you realize that if everyone could actually meet each other and be connected, we could solve anything. And I think that when you bring people who have means and resources up and you show them that view, when they get back home, because home, Earth is home, then they realize they've got a lot of work to do right here. And so in a way, space catalyzes Earth.
There we see the recovery team is on the scene right now, rushing right to the capsule. A big thumbs up right there, both inside and outside.
Weather balloons that we launched throughout the morning, and that gives us a very good idea of where it will land, which are within 1,000 feet. What you're seeing that they're doing right now is Kevin Sprague, crew member 7, is just making sure everybody is okay and gives them a thumbs up. They're also grounding the vehicle. When you go into space, you could accumulate pretty significant electric charge. That's actually why we prefer that the astronauts not get out themselves, so that we can ground the vehicle of static charge, which can be quite strong.
Excellent, and I think there that Kevin Sprague, our crew member 7, has given the thumbs up for all of our astronauts that are on board there. Again, Jeff Bezos, Mark Bezos, Wally Funk, and Oliver Damon. What an incredible day. You heard them on the audio. Best day ever. I mean, I feel like this is our best day ever, and we didn't even get to go up to space. I mean, what a day. Again, congratulations to the entire Blue team, our astronaut crew, and of course the friends and family of these incredible astronauts that are just about to exit the capsule here. Let's wait for that moment. There you see Jeff in the window.
George, TJ, this is a new generation. We were talking earlier about how when we were kids, we would watch. Think about the generation watching this and knowing that anything is possible.
And they're also thinking that maybe I can go, right? We are also seeing a new era in space travel to where you can get a seat on one of these. Yes, it's expensive now that we've talked about, but they're making it accessible. And the whole mission he wanted of Blue Origin, the company, is to eventually get people to space, to be working, living in space, and making space travel accessible and easy. And this is a huge, huge step. And I swear, guys, it's taken them longer to get them out than it did for the actual trip. But it's amazing that we sat here and watched the entire trip to space that took 11 minutes round trip. Or just under, as you said, George, a little early.
That's right. They were a little bit ahead of schedule. Look at that smile on the face of Jeff Bezos.
You think? Boy, a dream come true for him, and he had his naysayers. He had people who did not believe in this and did not want this, but he was steadfast. And we've heard from so many on the benefits of this and what it can lead to and what it can mean.
I think the first test flight was in October, I think, of 2012.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it means so much to have a crew like this where they're so different. Like TJ was talking about, it makes you think, you could go to space. But something I think is really necessary is that we see people that kind of feel like us. And having Oliver on that flight, he's 18. First of all, he's going to see everything the rest of his life differently. But other kids are going to realize, in a way that they wouldn't by looking at the rest of that crew, that they could be on that capsule and they'd better get ready.
I think it was something to have the oldest and the youngest together on that mission.
Wally is finally an astronaut.
I think Wally didn't want to come home. I could hear it. They're like, Wally, are you strapped in?
She may have stayed.
Can't blame her. She's waited an awful long time.
I think she would have been a minute.
Oh, my goodness. You could hear her voice clearly and distinctly whooping and hollering up there.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my face hurts from smiling, and I don't know about you, but it's so wonderful to watch. But there's part of you that just has to. It's just when it's over, you're like, oh, I guess I was a little worried about that.
He took that hat with him. You all see that? I didn't realize he took that hat with him.
Here he comes.
And there.
And guys, it's remarkable to see them walk out here without that traditional spacesuit. Walking out of a spaceship without that traditional spacesuit. It's quite remarkable to see that.
Lots of hugs for friends and family right there.
What the stories they're going to have to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Love to go to a
What
dinner
a
party with
day
them.
again here, a successful launch and landing of the New Shepard rocket and crew capsule with our first human flight crew there, Jeff Bezos, Mark Bezos, Oliver Damon, and Wally Funk. And their families there giving big hugs all around. What a moment, so much emotion from all of them. The elation. Did you see Wally? Did you see Wally when she came out? You know, this, I told you she was probably going to do a summer, cartwheel as she came out of that capsule. What an incredible, incredible day.
Even the play-by-play
Let's just
is
capture a couple more
non-traditional
moments
compared
of this.
to
Again,
when it's another with
space
NASA.
flight, so much engineering,
It's a new world.
so much
Amazing,
objective,
Robin.
hard
You know what's amazing as well,
technical
Robin,
thought that
is
goes into
earlier
it.
I was thinking about all the family and the friends who are here, and if you really look closely in that video, my buddy, my good friend, Tony Gonzalez, is actually great friends with Jeff Bezos, and Tony is out there with the family, getting his hugs in and sending his congratulations as well. So this has just been an historic moment with so many, and I think watching them and realize the excitement that they have to go up and be in space, but the nervousness and excitement for the family to actually watch this and be here and to greet them when they come out of that capsule, that must be pretty overwhelming as well.
And Michael, I know you're going to have to run because you're going to go try and talk to the crew.
Yes, I'm going to get out of here because I'm going to go talk to the crew and get firsthand how they feel about it. And I cannot wait. This is going to be an exciting interview. And I'm looking forward to this interview, George. So hopefully that will be done soon enough and people can hear firsthand how it was to be in space for 11 minutes or 10 minutes and 25 seconds since they were 35 seconds early.
He just wants to spread the love, spread the message. I can't wait to hear their impressions of the view from up there. And in fact, I hear in just a moment we hope to be getting a couple of impressions from our astronauts. We'll stand by for that there. You see the friends, the family. You see our CEO, Bob Smith, there. You see a couple of our other executives, of course, this crew safety team.
Champagne.
And it's champagne time, everybody.
It's the only proper way to end the space flight.
Exactly, only proper way to end a space flight with a champagne shower. And man, that is, let me just tell you, that is the beginning of the celebrations. There is a lot more to come. We are, again, not just the crew and the families, but everybody at Blue Origin who has made the historic day possible. Oh, there's a big hug from Jeff to Wally Funk.
The oldest person in space. You. So that's so wet.
A beautiful moment there.
Thank you.
For a woman who was denied her opportunity to go to space in the 60s, she had to wait to the 2020s, but man, it was worth the wait. There you see the Bezos brothers hugging it out. Oliver Damon, you saw him earlier giving his father a big hug. What a moment. You saw the first hug when Jeff came out of the capsule to his mother, Jackie, followed by his father, Mike. I mean, again, what a day. What a day. To the thousands and thousands of members of Team Blue, you contributed to today as well. I know you were all hugging it out back in Kent, Washington at our headquarters near Seattle, sending you guys a lot of love from down here in West Texas. What a moment.
I imagine.
Oh, look at this girl.
I mean, granted, Gary, we weren't in the capsule, but my favorite part was hearing, the hooting and hollering and the laughing. You know, Jeff is known for his big boisterous laugh. I mean, he's having the moment of a lifetime here, and you can only imagine as they were floating around up there. You saw them say, "Gosh, look at the views."
Dr. Olashey, successful flight, celebratory morning for Jeff Bezos. Your thoughts?
I tell you, this just confirms what I've learned a long time ago, and that is humans are dope. Look at what we can do. When people talk about, you know, Earth being visited by aliens, we are the advanced aliens, right? This is what this is showing. When you look at the universe, this is not happening everywhere, but it's happening here on Earth. And I love it, and I'm excited by it. And you know what? Earlier, Katie was saying how they're going to have great stories to tell. Hopefully not. No one tells the story of their commercial air flight anymore because it's routine now. Hopefully we can get there with this, and we can change humanity, and we can venture out further. I'm incredibly excited about this, and I love their excitement. I'm excited with their excitement.
Well, Dr. Olashey, you summed it up for us all this morning. You get the last word. Humans are dope. Successful launch of the New Shepard spacecraft. Jeff Bezos and his crew.
It's here and it's now. And I remember we're
going into space for about 10 minutes, 25 seconds.
It doesn't compare. It doesn't matter. This is real. This is so much better than anything that we could have ever imagined. The emotional component to human space flight. We've had 15 consecutive test flights, which, as you said earlier, is why we knew that we were ready to put people on board this rocket. And that's what led us to today. To know that we could do this safely, and to give people the experience of a lifetime. And I think based on what we see there, I think you know, job well done, sir. Job well done.
And not only did we do it today, we can do it again and again and again and again.
Precisely. Absolutely love it. That was amazing. Everybody, I want to thank you all for joining us from around the world for today's Blue Origin historic first human flight. It's been a moment for the ages, and guess what? We're just getting started. We've got 2 more flights this year and several more in the coming years. I want you to join us a little bit later today. We're going to have a live press conference on our website.
So there you have it, the New Shepard spacecraft back on Earth. Jeff Bezos and his crew walking away after their nearly 11 minutes trip to space, experiencing that weightlessness.
And keep in mind that Michael Strahan will be talking to them shortly and bringing that interview to them.
Looking forward to hearing that. We're going to go back to our regular programming right now.
Oh, here's the clip.
Keep that kid down there. Sit on him. Sit on the kid.
Yes, I think that really offended Dylan because he hasn't been here for 18 years. No, sorry about